Hi, this is Bishop James Dixon welcoming you to the Empowered by Faith broadcast, brought to you by the Community of Faith Church in Houston, Texas. And wherever you are in the world, you'll be able to receive a relevant message each day, Monday through Friday, right here on YouTube. We empower you through messages that are relevant, resourceful, and relatable. Get that? Relevant, resourceful, and relatable. That means you'll be able to use the messages I teach and preach in your life. And when you do, you'll be informed, inspired, and ignited to fulfill your dreams and accomplish your God-given purpose and destiny. It's all about walking by faith and not by sight. So get ready now for this message God's going to speak to you, and you shall be empowered.
This week was life-changing for me, and I'm certain for those who were blessed to travel on our expedition to the nation's capital. I know many of you experienced it vicariously through virtual means. Many of our team members were pastors from across the nation and activists from different states and cities, most of whom we already knew. There were others who joined us we did not know, people who heard about it, read about it, and flew in or drove in to be with us. They were from the north, east, south, and west, lovers of people, lovers of justice, because they are lovers of God. And of course, we were honored to connect with many significant people. Among those, of course, our Texas delegates who left the state legislature, left the Capitol, left Austin, and have been in Washington, D.C. now for multiple weeks as a part of their strategic righteous rebellion against a government that has become more dictatorial than democratic in its process. And we're praying that that changes. But we were honored to be with them and stand with them and encourage them. We also shook hands with federal officials, inclusive of course, our own Sheila Jackson Lee and Al Green. And by the way, you would be proud to hear what others in the Capitol think about those that we are so familiar with because of their stellar leadership and representation beyond what we get a chance to see. People really revere and honor them because of the difference they make in different ways. I was reminded not to treat the uncommon like it's common. We also stood with Representative Cori Bush on the nation's Capitol Plaza, who was protesting the conclusion of the moratorium protecting the vulnerable from being evicted due to COVID complexities. And because the moratorium had ended, 11 million people were about to become evicted persons. Many would be homeless, many would be children. Imagine the compounding effect had that occurred. And she stood almost single-handedly, stayed outside overnight on the Capitol as a demonstration of what would happen to the 11 million. And we joined her on Tuesday after our rally. And the next day, the Biden administration issued an extension on that moratorium. Praise God for that. Those 11 million people may never know who stood on their behalf, but tell you, but God wrote it down. It mattered to Jesus. And that's what we hear in this text, is it not? That Jesus is concerned about the least of these. we were also extremely honored to have with us, standing with us, two iconic individuals, one in the person of Reverend Jesse Louis Jackson. You don't get any more royal in our lifetime as it relates to civil and social justice and human rights from a God perspective than the voice of Reverend Jesse Jackson. You may have some differences with him as I have differences with myself, but I know that even when you get beyond people's differences, you look at the legacy of Reverend Jesse Jackson, who has fought in the trenches around this nation and around the world for the least of these. I wish somebody could say for the least of these. And for Reverend Jackson to be in Washington, and he was there during the convention of Rainbow Push, he left that agenda to stand with us in multiple settings and to walk with us and even to march in the streets. In his physical condition is just more than words can convey. But he was there. He was there. Called, Dixon, I'm coming. I will be with you and Freddie. And so Dr. Haynes and I were honored. But then a person I had never met before, and only sent messages back and forth through others to her until this week, and that is the daughter of President Lyndon Baines Johnson, Miss Lucy Baines Johnson, who flew in to be our speaker, to be our guest. And how honored we were to have her. And then her sister, Linda Johnson, joined us as well. Lucy Baines Johnson is a firecracker for justice. She is passionate, and she was only there to appear once, but she saw our itinerary and said, I'm going to make every event, Bishop. I'll be at everything you have. And even since then, she's been announcing to people how honored she is to have now joined with me and with us as a partner. She was in Houston on Friday, and she reverberated again. In fact, she announced to the whole crowd here her new connection with Bishop Dixon. And I want to say that I'm just humbled at how God is moving the movement. But I want to say that this is, in our terms as the church, is greater glory. Y'all know the term. I know that many don't understand that jargon, but this is evidence of God's greater glory, increasing and expanding and elevating our platform for greater kingdom impact. But it's not about being popular. It's all about what Jesus is talking about here in Matthew chapter 25. And I want to say this. The most moving thing that happened for me while in Washington, D.C., we even had a sovereign serendipitous encounter with the first black person elected to the U.S. Senate from the state of Georgia, Reverend Dr. Raphael Warnock. It was amazing because the methods of reaching out to him had fallen through the cracks. I had planned to meet with him Tuesday morning, and we didn't make connection, but God went around us. And while walking to the Supreme Court, a person guiding us took a wrong turn. We were walking, took a wrong turn, and in the wrong turn ran right into Senator Warnock. Will you tell your neighbor, God can use your wrong turns? And we had a substantive conversation with the senator, Reverend Dr. Warnock. All of that happened. All of these pronounced people whose names are written already in the annals of history. But the person I will never forget is a woman named Norma. Norma. I don't know Norma's last name, but I met a woman named Norma as we prepared to leave the Capitol grounds, a woman named Norma walked up to me as we were moving. She caught up with us and stopped me and said, "Bishop, will you please pray for me? I'm homeless." I wish I brought the book in that Norma had in her hand. She says, "I want to give you this book. Please accept it." And it's a powerful book that she gave me. And she said, "I just want you to pray for me. Please, sir, I'm homeless. Just pray for me." And I said, "Of course, I'll pray for you." I commandeered a few other pastors to come around to pray for us. I think Deborah Harris was right there. And we prayed for Norma on the plaza of the U.S. Capitol, the citadel of power and decision and legislation, praying for Norma in the shadows of the Capitol, the citadel of power, the complex of the headquarters of the United States of America. One can see from there the Supreme Court. One can see from there the Senate building. One can see from there the White House. You're in the citadel, in the complex, the citadel of global power, praying for Norma, who was homeless. I want you to imagine in your mind's eye, Norma. I tried to figure out quickly, just at a glance, who she was. Her skin was bronzed from the sun because she's homeless. She's outside all the time. She was not badly kept, but she was not well kept. She tried to present herself, and she was articulate. She had been a professional. She was educated. She had been a professional, and she explained quickly that went through some hard times, and the resources that were made available to her dried up, and she couldn't get any assistance, and it had devolved to the point that she was homeless. We prayed for her. My friend, Dr. Welton Pleasant from Long Beach, California, instinctively did what I was about to do, went into his pocket after we prayed to give her $50, and she said, "No, I didn't ask for money. I just asked for prayer. I didn't ask for money. I just asked for, I didn't stop you for money. I just stopped you to pray for me." Here is a woman homeless in Washington, D.C., on the plaza of the United States Capitol. Please don't turn the channel. Please listen to this. And all she wants is prayer. And we prayed for her. We had to talk her into keeping the money. That not many homeless people you have to talk into keeping money. She was not looking for a handout. Norma was looking for God's help. I want you to understand that. And can I be transparent? I really didn't have a sermon for today. I really didn't have a sermon for today, but Norma has stayed on my mind. I can't get Norma off of my heart. I couldn't get Norma's face out of my. I don't know if she'd ever voted before. I don't know if she voted Republican or Democrat. She's educated. She had been involved in corporate life. She had been a professional at something. Norma had been a responsible citizen. At some point, Norma was in a position where Norma could have helped somebody else. At some point, Norma would have been the kind of person who would have caught a plane and traveled, but now she's homeless. I don't know if she identified with the conservatives or the liberals. I don't know if she was Baptist or Catholic. All I know is Norma wanted prayer. Norma believed that God's people had a connection, and Listen, Norma didn't hear me give a speech. I don't know if she heard me talk at the mic when I talked about, I don't know when Norma recognized me. I don't know what it, I don't know. I don't know. I honestly don't know. I was wearing my collar. I was dressed, but others were dressed like that. So I don't know all I know, she doesn't know the name of my church. I know any of that. But Norma believed that the people of God had a connection. Listen, there were Congress people, there were state representatives, there were elected officials, but Norma stopped the representation of the church and said, will you please pray for me? And I'm saying to us today on the Capitol Mall, here's a homeless person. And after we left, I huddled with some of our pastors and leaders, and I said to them, Brother Danny Johnson, I have an ache in my heart that I cannot shake. And the ache in my heart that I cannot shake is here we are in the shadows of the citadel of global power in the richest nation in the world. And I ask this question, Sister Signora, can you imagine leaving here in motorcades like we see all the limos lined up and we see the guards and the security? Can you imagine leaving here is where you office daily and you drive by Norma and others like Norma, and you've just left the seat that controls all the wealth, all the riches, all the power. Can't somebody in this building solve Norma's problem? I hope I'm not boring you. I really hope those of you who are viewing, I hope I'm not. I'm saying to us, Jesus says in Matthew chapter 25, at the end of the day, when it's all over, when there's no more news stories, when there's no more elections and no more debates and there's no more political, posturing, when all of that, do we understand that there's going to come a day when there will be no more CNN or Fox? That there won't be any Don Lemon, neither will there be any more Tucker. I'm saying all that's going to shut down. And then Jesus is going to have a word. I need people to know Jesus is going to have the last word. In fact, that's the subject right there. When Jesus has the last word. That's the subject, Mickey. That's the subject. I was waiting on it to come. When Jesus has the last word. I want somebody to know that Jesus is going to have the last word. And that's what Matthew chapter 25 is about. That Jesus says there's going to be a last word. And when he has the last word, he's going to divide, the Bible says, the sheep from the goats. And the sheep represents the saved, the righteous, and the goats represent those who acted like they were saved. They acted like they were righteous, and they fooled a lot of people. And what I'm saying to you is that all these symbols of power, all of these symbols of power and significance, and all of this, and at the end of the day, you ain't gonna have a last word. The last word is gonna come down to Jesus. And you may have fooled everybody for all of time, but then when it comes to the last word, Jesus is going to pull the cover back and say, let me show you who are the righteous and who were the unrighteous. And it will not be decided whether you were a D or an R, a Democrat or a Republican or an independent. It won't be decided about any of that. And whether you were the president or the governor or the senator or the congressperson won't matter. I'm trying to say it won't matter. Listen, you can be the president of NAACP or the president of the Rifle Association. It doesn't matter. The NRA leader or the Urban League leader. At the end of the day, only one person is going to have the last word. And it won't be taken by vote. It will not be by committee. It won't have to pass through this process. There'll be no hearings. There will be no, your friends won't be, and there'll be no filibuster. There'll be no filibuster. There will be no filibuster because Jesus does not have to get anybody else's approval to give the last word. And he will say, the king. He's the king. It's right there in verse 34. Then the king will say, I need to, come on, come on, say the king. This is verse 34. Say the king. Understand that our issue is we don't understand the difference between the president and the king. You got to understand the difference between a governor and a king. The king rules and reigns. He has no peer. He has no rival. In this day, Jesus will speak as the king. I want somebody to understand he's going to speak as the king. He's going to speak as the king, and the king is going to say, all right, I need y'all on the right, y'all get on the left, and here's how he's going to divide this thing up. He's going to say to those on the right, come you who are blessed by my Father and receive your inheritance, the kingdom that's been prepared for you from the creation of the world. And then he's going to read the narrative and say, and here is how I know who you are. I was hungry. You fed me. I was thirsty. You gave me something to drink. I was a stranger. You took me. You invited me in. That means I was out of doors. I was homeless. You took me in. Listen to this. I needed clothes, and you clothed me. I was sick. You looked after me. I was in prison, and you came to visit me. You cared about my condition. I want us to get this now. What Jesus said is, listen, my condition mattered to you. Listen. Jesus is saying, you did this for me when I was hungry, when I was thirsty, when I was out of doors, when I was sick, when I was clothesless, when I was in prison. And come on in. Listen. And the righteous will say, when did we see you hungry? When did we see you thirsty? When did we see you outdoors, clothesless, sick, and imprisoned? When you did it for Norma. When you did it for Norma. And
thank you for tuning in to the Empowered by Faith broadcast. I hope this message really blessed your life. Tune in tomorrow for another word, because we're going to be here every day, Monday through Friday, with a message that is relevant, resourceful, and relatable. And don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel and invite your friends to do the same. We're building a larger and larger following, speaking truth into the lives of people by the thousands. I thank God that you're one of those. Follow us as well on other social media at Bishop James Dixon. And if you're in Houston, you've got to connect with the Community of Faith Church. All right? God is doing great things through this church, and the world knows the difference. God bless you. We'll see you on tomorrow. Keep walking by faith, not by sight.
There is now a way to participate in generosity in a way that's as easy as texting a friend. With Text to Give, you can give using your mobile device by following these 3 easy steps. Number 1, text the keyword and amount you'd like to give to our church's Text to Give number. Number 2, follow the series of prompts and set up your secure Give Text to Give account. Here, choose your desired payment method. And finally, number 3, save the number as a contact in your phone for future use. Text to Give only takes seconds to use and is the perfect way to connect with our ministry through giving.
We sincerely hope you're enjoying the ministry of Bishop James Dixon. We also hope you appreciate the work we're doing to impact our community and the world. To keep up with Dr. Dixon and all we do, follow Bishop Dixon on all social media. Subscribe to his YouTube at Bishop James Dixon. Follow Bishop D on Facebook and Instagram. Stay connected and you'll be amazed at what we're doing to impact the world for Jesus. Stay connected and stay empowered by faith.
These are perilous times for America. The social climate is impacted by racial injustice, a broken criminal justice system that unjustly punishes poor people and people of color. The ongoing story of police brutality against unarmed people has strained relationships between the community and law enforcement. And add to this, the voter suppression movement, where states like Texas are enacting laws that are designed to decrease black and brown voter participation. So, what does the church do in the midst of this kind of social turmoil? Well, the church should be doing what Bishop James Dixon and the community of faith is doing. We are leading the fight for justice, equality, and righteousness. I am glad to be a part of a church that doesn't remain silent when unarmed men and women are being killed by police. Everyone knows that Bishop Dixon is God's voice for social justice and for positive changes in our society. Some people talk it, Bishop Dixon walks it. Yes, the community of faith keeps proving that it's a battleship church, not a cruise ship. In addition to being an anointed preacher and pastor, Bishop Dixon is a real leader who serves to empower his community. So you see him in Austin at the Capitol, challenging lawmakers to pass laws to combat child sex trafficking. Bishop Dixon is there to fight against voter suppression. You see him standing with other leaders, speaking truth to power in behalf of the less fortunate. I am happy to partner with Bishop Dixon because I know he's not in it for himself. He's dedicated to the hard work of fighting for the people. That's why, my friends, you should partner with James Dixon Ministries. Praying and supporting James Dixon Ministries makes a much needed difference. So go to jamesdixonministries.org to become a partner today. We thank God for your support. And if you're looking for a church, a real church, a battleship church, look no further. You found it. It's the community of faith, and we welcome you to your new church family.